Okay, we're getting ready to start chapter 15 on page 143. And at the end of chapter 14, Ellie and Maya, remember, were at the scene in El Salvador where there had been an earthquake. And Ellie had just found another body, but they couldn't get the body out because it was under so much like concrete and rubble. But then Ellie smelled a woman who was alive, but she had to walk through these chemicals, and Maya did not understand. So, here we go. Page 143. We see the victim, Ellie. We're going to have to leave him here. Come on, Maya said. She wanted me to leave, but why? We weren't done. We hadn't found the person I had smelled. Unless... Was Maya confused? Did she think I was still telling her about the person under the bricks? That wasn't right. I stared up at her, trying to tell her with my eyes, my ears, my tense and rigid body, rigid means stiff, that I had found someone new. I needed Maya to understand. I could not find without her. Finding meant bringing Maya to the person. What would I do if she wouldn't come? Does she want to find me again? Vernon asked. Maya shook her head. Poor Ellie. This is so confusing for her. You can't hide around here. It's too dangerous. Tell you what, though. It would be fun for her to chase you a little. Go up the street a bit and call her, and I'll let her off the leash. I didn't pay attention to Vernon as he trotted away. I was still on find. My focus was on the rubble, on the crack with the faint smell drifting out of it. The person was alive and frightened. I could smell fear sharp beneath the chemical smell that hurt my nose. Maya unsnapped my leash. Ellie? What's Vernon doing? Where is he going? Hey, Ellie, look, Vernon shouted. He started to run slowly up the street, glancing back over his shoulder at me. I stared at him. It would be fun to chase him. Maya wanted me to, and I liked finding Vernon. He'd wrestle and play with me, and he was glad to be found. Finding him had been the only fun part of this night. But I had work to do. I turned back to the collapsed building. Ellie! No! Maya called. If it had been Jacob, that no would have stopped me in my tracks. But Maya just didn't command me with the same force. She was more frightened than angry. It showed in her voice. I scrambled over the pile of bricks that lay over the dead body, scrabbling my way forward. My feet slipped in something wet, and the pads started to sting. So the pads, the bottom part of her paw. That harsh, unnatural smell was rising all around me. It was blocking out the woman's scent. I clawed my way forward, trying to find it again. So you have a good picture in your head of Ellie trying to get up and over all these broken rocks and bricks. There! The crack in the wall was ahead. I pushed my way into it. I'd done this before, wriggling through the tube. First with Jacob, then with Maya. I knew what to do. Something wet and slick was underneath me. It was sticking to my fur. It splashed up onto my nose as I forced my way forward. It hurt. My nose stung even worse than my paws. I pushed myself forward faster, desperate to get out of this cramped, dark, dangerous place. Then the ground vanished beneath me. It disappeared. I dropped down into a narrow shaft. I hit the concrete floor hard and staggered back up, shaking my head hard. My nose, it was burning. I couldn't even smell the woman huddled in a corner of the shaft, pressing a piece of cloth that she's torn off her skirt to her face. Her eyes were wild and dark as she looked at me, shocked. I couldn't get back to Maya to show her what I found. I barked instead. Ellie! Maya's voice echoed off the concrete walls around me, and she started to cough. Get back, Maya, Vernon warned. I kept barking. Ellie! Maya shouted again, sounding closer. The woman heard Maya. The cloth dropped away from her face, and she started screaming, all of her terror and pain tumbling out of her in her voice. Here! I'm here! Don't leave me in here! Get me out! There's someone in there! Someone alive! Maya shouted. I could tell Maya understood at last, so I stopped barking and went to sit down beside the woman I'd found. I kept shaking my head and pawing at my nose with my paw. My eyes were watering, and whatever had gotten on my nose was getting worse and worse. The woman saw. Gently she tried to pat at my nose with the piece of cloth she held over her face. I jerked away and growled. I couldn't help it. Her touch had made the stinging flare into sharp, angry pain. I felt bad for growling. I knew that wasn't what I was supposed to do, so I crept back to her side and licked her hand to apologize. She seemed to understand and didn't try to touch my nose again. Instead, she whispered quietly to herself words that were quiet and urgent at once. I heard Mama talk like that once. She called it praying. The woman and I sat together until a man wearing a helmet and a mask poked a flashlight into the space and waved it around. The light fell on both of us, and the woman gasped and then waved frantically. Soon the sounds of digging and hammering drifted down, and then a square of daylight broke into the shaft from above. A shadow blocked it almost at once. A man was swinging down on a rope. The woman had obviously never practiced being lifted by a rope harness before. She was very frightened and kept praying the whole time while the firemen buckled the straps around her and hoisted her out. But Jacob had taught me that a harness was not to be feared, so I stepped calmly in it when it was my turn. I went up in jerks and stops to the top of the shaft. Maya was there when they hauled me through the hole the men had dug. I jumped into her arms as soon as they unclipped the harness from my back. Maya's relief turned quickly to alarm. "Oh no, Ellie, your nose!" Maya clipped on my leash and ran with me quickly to a fire truck. Maya talked to one of the firefighters, her voice urgent. He came over to me and then, well, if things weren't bad enough, he actually gave me a bath. A bath? Weren't we working? I was disgusted, but I sat still when Maya told me to. Okay, I'm going to have to stop there for just a minute.